reaction, your thoughts on being a partner, what it means to you, what your role is, what you've learned from one another, which I think is, as Joe said, even in this conversation, I've learned some things, which is, to me, what the outcome I was hoping for. And what changes do you imagine? I mean, this is not about freezing something in time, but it's creating a living, organic thing that will be different in the future. And do you have some thoughts to share on that?
I can't remember if the three of you introduced the amazing news, or if it was Fred and Joe, but it was definitely pretty struck by, I would say almost the weight of this amazing opportunity. Being part of a partnership to a practice that I've enjoyed for so long, it's just something I wasn't actually even dreaming about. So it's kind of completely shifted my view on the practice and kind of the future, just knowing that I have now a different investment in the practice than just kind of participating on the projects, but really participating now on the overall firm, the health of the firm, the future of the firm was just something, being in my mid-30s, didn't expect, even dream that would kind of happen. This is something, in our industry happens typically later in careers for people. So that was, like I said, I was kind of blown away, over the moon. Had to, I think, take a couple weekends to kind of, deflate a little bit there. So completely honored in knowing I'm now helping drive to the future. As kind of talked about in the last couple of questions, really, I have an interest in really supporting Marisa, Matthew, Taka, in these next steps, thinking about how do we expand the New York presence, how do we further expand our programming aspect. We've done so much for our academic clients that we could really potentially bolster that side of the practice and grow that area. As also Marisa touched upon, how do we reach new communities? We've been deeply rooted in the academics art world, but how do we kind of think about new communities and supporting their goals and their missions? We're starting with Charles R. Drew University and thinking about that part of Los Angeles, but how do we start to further expand what we can contribute, what we can support, and what we can champion towards the future is major goals that I'd like to support the partnership in. And back to another question, I think learning from the three of you, it's really thinking about how does the four of us as the next gen build and strengthen our relationship, our communication, and making sure that we're having fun while we're doing this. It's not just a job, but this is an amazing part of our life and our future.
I appreciate it, becoming this group. Especially, I'm still a foreigner. I have a green card, but I'm still a foreigner. And I speak less good English. I remember I spoke with David first time I joined the office, and we had a team meeting, and I didn't follow the conversation. Somebody asked a question to me, and I was answering a totally wrong thing, and not related to the conversation. And then I told him, David, I didn't understand what a conversation was most of the time in the meeting. David said, yeah, I knew it. I knew it. You're not understanding the conversation. So even that situation, I have been in this office now maybe more than 12 years, and yeah, making me to be a family of FF&P, and eventually became a group of leadership. I really appreciate inclusiveness office provided to me. And in one of the retreat, I don't remember what was the question, but a great thing about the office, I asked and I answered the balance between Fred, David, and Joe. The three partners balance is making this office great. That's what I answered. And now I feel like Next Gen for us has the same thing, great balance, and then different talents, actually, very different to each other. Even Matt and I are very different, also both really focus on design, but very different for us, and supporting each other and respecting each other, having different, learning each other, teaching each other. I think that's a great thing about this for Next Gen partners. And I'm confident it's gonna be getting even further greater in the future.
Definitely repeat a lot of those sentiments. I mean, I think I was as shocked as everyone else when the announcement was made. It wasn't really something we had any insight into the thinking on before it happened, that we were selected, and it really was a shift in thinking of, oh wow, this is a legacy firm now, and we have to learn how to run it. I think one of the good points Taka made is how different the three founding partners are and how they complement each other. But I would say they really, as we pay attention to how they run the firm, I think they're equally committed, and have shown us how much of a commitment and grit and determination it takes on a daily basis to kind of do what they do. And so I think that's definitely something we've learned by being closer to their daily lives and their process, is how much effort they put in, and how much you really have to, as an architect, to design great buildings, serve your clients. So,
I think when we found out about the next generation partnership decision, I was actually at a point in my career where I was starting to think about, am I going to be able to have a long-term place in this office, mostly just because my focus is so specialized. Like I kind of thought like, well, maybe I need to go join a strategy firm, or even, open my own consultancy. And, all of those things sounded nice, but, I really was not looking forward to having to not work with the kind of clients that we normally work with at the office. And I was just thinking, how am I going to get to that place? So, in my own kind of off on my own. And so when I found out, I was so happy to be able to kind of continue doing what I do in service of the kinds of projects and project types and people that we consistently have worked with over the years. So that was very exciting. Of course, I was also extremely stunned, no question. I think, as everyone has touched on, the interpersonal dynamic between the three senior partners and the four of us has always been a real interesting lesson in complementary skills and talents and personalities as well. As far as Taka and Matt and Nathan go, it's true, we are all extremely different. And I think that as a collective, we make a really interesting leader. Taka and I actually sat in on a leadership seminar fairly shortly after we found out about the partnership. And they talked about the idea of 20th versus 21st century leadership. And they liken 20th century leadership to Superman. All about superheroes today, but the sort of single person, well, single man, let's be real, who knew everything, did everything, was everything. And that 21st century leadership was much more of a network. And that's really what I think is happening with us. I think we all have tremendous personal and professional respect for who we are, how we think, what we do. Bring lots of different strengths to the table. You know, Matt's kind of meticulous ability to go from the big picture to the small detail of design to reality is something that I admire tremendously. You know, Nathan and I think, see eye to eye on making plans and getting organized and getting things done and being kind of the office motivators, not just in terms of furthering the practice, but furthering the culture. I always kind of describe myself as the resident butt kicker, but I hopefully also do it with a little bit of empathy too. And then, you know, for Taka, we have really great walks to coffee almost every day when we're working together. And we talk about such interesting ideas related to design, but also culture and big abstract ideas. And so, you know, that intellectual connection I think that you and I have is really special. So I think the blend of this has been so interesting. And I look forward to the future of working with all of you. I think it's going to be really fun, and I think it's going to be really interesting.